Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Tesla stock today is up, at the time of recording this video, 3.24%. So a little over 3%. Markets are soaring higher today, although not getting back all of what was lost on Friday. There does seem to be a little bit more optimism in the air after Donald Trump says, don't worry about China. Now, we're going to go over all of your latest developments and breaking news, specifically with Tesla and the broader markets in this weird trade environment that we now find ourselves in, again, with China. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Check that link out down below in the description of tonight's episode if you want to come join us. Okay, what we do is we're going out, we're finding AI, software, energy, biopharma, gene editing, companies in these main secular bull market themes. These are themes that I think are going to do very well over the next 10 years. Add quantum to that. And going out, finding the quality names that Wall Street is underlooking or overlooking and investing in those. And, well, that has been a winning strategy. So come join us if you would like to. Even after yesterday's or Friday's hellish of a day, the portfolio is up 173.2% year to date. And as long as things don't get much worse from here, I think we're going to see some pretty dramatic upside into the end of the year. The portfolio was up 215% year to date. So it's not a recommendation. It's not financial advice. You could always lose money, but I think it's the place you want to be if you're trying to grow your money. Again, don't be a jackass. It's not financial advice, but we tend to spot opportunities and capitalize on them. But with that said, let's get into today's episode. First and foremost, let's start with a broader market update, okay? Because Tesla can have all of the best news possible. If markets are under pressure, it's not going to matter like we seen on Friday. Now, there is a lot of big news today for Tesla. There's price target increases. There's analyst coverage that is being initiated on the stock. There's a planned ramp for Q4 production in China, okay, suggesting really good demand. But first, let's start here. China issues implementation rules on port fees on U.S. ships. China exempts China-made ships owned by U.S. companies from port fees. U.S. Treasury Secretary Besson on China trade says, quote, "We have aggressively pushed back against China's export controls. This was a provocative move." He says, quote, "There was substantial communication over the weekend. Quote, there will be lots of staff level meetings. They are neither going to command nor control us. We've already been in touch with allies and are meeting with them this week. Quote, this is China versus the world. Quote, we won't let China export restrictions go on. Quote, we expect support from India and others. We believe China is open to discussion on this. If not, we have substantial levers we can pull. And quote, we could move more aggressively than China has. So, some positive sounding headlines, like there has been communication over the weekend, some less positive sounding headlines. And I still think this is a very fluid situation. Markets today are obviously reacting well to the comments that Trump made last night that essentially don't worry about China. China has a great and strong leader, and he'll come to his senses and they'll figure things out, is essentially what the markets got out of Trump's comments last night. You could see the VIX is down 11% today. The Russell 2000 is up 2.3%. NASDAQ is up 2.13%. S&P 500 is up 1.62%. And the Dow is up 1.37%. So a strong market across the board. Donald Trump says today, Dogan is a tough cookie, but he's my friend. This is the president or leader of Turkey. Trump says, I intend to be an effort to rebuild Gaza. We have weapons that nobody has ever dreamt of. I hope we never have to use them. India is holding trade talks with the U.S. this week and is looking to buy more energy and gas from the U.S., per Reuters. U.S. Treasury Secretary Besson has said that the China-U.S. relationship is good and the new 100% tariffs, quote, do not have to happen. You know, some of these comments are getting markets excited, but again, it's still a one-person driven market. It's still a headline driven market with whatever Trump says. So if Trump comes out and says some crazy shit, you know, stocks are not going to like that. And there's going to, you know, this rally is going to be short-lived. And I think Wall Street wants, you know, more updates. So we'll see if we get them. Trump says, I would love to lift the Iran sanctions if they talk. Morgan Stanley says U.S.-China trade tensions seen as tactical and not lasting. Morgan Stanley says recent U.S.-China trade moves, including rare earth export curbs and tariff threats, are part of tactical escalation, not a lasting split. A full trade decoupling is unlikely, and both sides are expected to ease tensions before key summits. The bank sees short-term volatility rather than structural disruption. Now, we will circle back to some other news and commentary from analysts and investment firms. But that is an update on the geopolitical climate, the trade climate between the U.S. and China. It seems like things are getting a little bit better, but we haven't heard much from China. We haven't heard steps to actually not have the tariffs put into effect on November 1st. So it's still very much a wild card, and you still need to be prepared for anything to happen here. But with that said, let's get started with your Tesla stock breaking news today. SD and Autopilot are about to get some really cool visualization updates, like ambulances and fire trucks and, you know, people in strollers. Okay, it's going to be a little bit more comprehensive. Now, Elon Musk comments under this post that was from Ford's CEO that says, quote, if we lose this, we do not have a future at Ford. Okay. China added 295,000 industrial robots last year. The U.S., 34,000. The U.K., 2,500. Okay. Elon Musk says, quote, wait until you see what Tesla does with Optimus. Elon's basically saying, hey, you know, Tesla is going to dominate in robotics. That, in simple terms, is what Elon Musk just said. Tesla China VP Grace Tao says the company has begun a production ramp-up for Q4 at Giga Shanghai. Quote, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, the brothers and sisters of the Shanghai factory are working hard to expand production and sprint at full power so that car owners in China and Asia Pacific can pick up their cars as soon as possible. So this is suggestive that there is really good demand in the China Asia Pacific region. Melius research analyst Robert Dortheimer has initiated coverage on Tesla with a buy rating and a $520 price target. Tesla today was hit by new Swedish union action as labor dispute nears the 2-year mark. The union IF Metal has announced that starting this Wednesday, October 15th, there will be a complete work stoppage affecting all tasks that the truck company Lind performs for Tesla. Lind, one of Sweden's largest truck companies, services and delivers trucks for Tesla's Swedish subsidiary TM Sweden. It says, quote, they said that work stoppage will continue until Tesla signs the collective agreement demanded by the union. The union says the company refuses to consider collective bargaining agreements that would align its Swedish workforce with industry standards on wage increases, working hours, and pensions. To bypass the blockage, Tesla has relied on workarounds to keep its business running in Sweden, including importing vehicles in bulk via German ferry. Now, the U.S. government shutdown is forecasted to last more than 35 days. That would make it the longest in history. As expected, due to federal EV credit ending, EV sales volumes in the U.S. hit an all-time high in Q3 2025 with 438,487 units sold. EV sales volume in Q3 was up 40.7% from the previous quarter and higher by 29.6% year over year. The Q3 record beat the prior peak set in Q4 2024 by nearly 20%. During the third quarter, electric vehicles accounted for 10.5% of total vehicle sales, also a new record and a significant increase from the 8.6% share in the same period last year. And the top 10 best-selling EVs in the US in Q3, at number 1 was the Model Y at 114,897 units, up 29% year over year. The Tesla Model 3 at 53,857, down 8% year over year, was number 2. And then you have the Chevy Equinox, Hyundai Ioniq, Honda Prologue, Ford Mustang Mach-E, and then you go down the list. In option activity today from hedge funds and institutions, you have 102 different trades totaling $49.53 million with a positive order value of 50%. So 50% positive, 50% negative. Now, short interest are free float at 2.73%. Okay. $31.71 billion sold short in Tesla, and that totals about 76.69 million shares that are sold short. Now, here you can see that Morgan Stanley says that they expect consumer goods sales to stay weak. It says Morgan Stanley expects another weak quarter for consumer packaged goods, citing soft U.S. demand and slowing global sales. Analysts see sluggish growth persisting into Q4 with only modest improvements in 2026 from tariff-driven price hikes. They warn that higher prices could strain low and middle-income consumers and keep growth below trend. Scott Bessent said today the U.S. government shutdown is starting to affect the U.S. economy. OpenAI and Broadcom plan custom data center chips for 2026. So OpenAI striking more deals. That just shows the AI market is alive and well. Here you can see a pretty interesting chart per the Wall Street Journal that says investment in AI and internet as a percentage of GDP. So AI is far outpacing the internet at the same life cycle of, versus the internet, right? Which doesn't exactly mean anything. It just shows people are going all in on AI. Bessent says working level talks with China this week. Per The Atlantic today, they say the U.S. government shutdown could lead the country into recession. I don't buy this. It's really not a recession catalyst, but it wouldn't surprise me if more people start to say things like this. Now, the Pentagon announced today that they are buying $500 million worth of cobalt, $245 million of antimony, and $100 million of tantalum. The CNN Fear and Greed Index today is coming in at 33, so there's plenty of room for sentiment to get more bullish here. Market momentum is fear, stock price strength is neutral, stock price breadth, extreme fear, put and call options greed, market volatility, extreme fear, safe haven demand is fear, and junk bond demand in extreme fear. The AI investor sentiment survey, the last one we had was last Thursday before all of this tariff, debacle. You had bullish investors at 45.9%, neutral investors at 18.5%, and bearish investors still elevated at 35.6%. Now, Fed Paulson today, he must be a new Fed governor because this is just a name we're not used to seeing, says, I don't see tariffs causing sustained inflation. Fed Paulson signals support for 2 more 25 basis point cuts in 2025. And he says, I see current monetary policy as modestly restrictive. And according to the Fed Rate Monitor tool, the odds for a rate cut October 29th, 99.3% in favor of one rate cut. There is almost a 1% chance of a 50 basis point rate cut. For December 10th, you're pricing in an 87.4% chance of another rate cut, and about a 1% chance of 75 basis points worth of cuts between now and December. And for January, it's really split here. There's a 48.1% chance that we will pause in January, and there's a 45.8% chance that we'll get another rate cut. So, yeah, But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, Tesla stock is up 3.6%. And again, it's really hard to say what is coming next because we're such a headline driven market. One more headline, that's negative could send stocks dramatically lower. One more positive headline could continue to send stocks higher, like we're seeing today. But Tesla is recovering a bit, up 3.6%. As I've talked about before, 402 is a level where we should get a lot of support, right at about 400 if you wanted to use an even number. A break lower would be concerning, but really, as long as things do not get worse, we're looking at upside into year end. I think there's reason to be bullish on 2026 in quite a large way. So let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And check that link out down below if you want to come join the trading community. But with that said, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.